The United Nations is warning of staggering economic devastation across Gaza and the West Bank and says the Palestinian economy will require billions of dollars to rebuild. A UN Trade and Development report found that by mid-2024, Gaza's economy had shrunk to less than 1/6 of its 2022 level. Gaza's GDP plummeted by more than 80% in the last quarter of 2023 following the October 7th attacks on Israel and its subsequent military actions across Gaza. By early this year, as much as 96% of Gaza's agricultural assets, including farms, irrigation systems and machinery, had been decimated, according to the report. Meanwhile, in the occupied West Bank, around 300,000 jobs have been lost, with the territory undergoing a rapid and alarming decline. The report says that settlement expansion, violence and land confiscations were all factors. While the unemployment rate there has jumped from just under 13% before the conflict began to 32%. Let's get more on this now with Rami Al Azzeh, an economist with the UN Trade and Development Organization. Thank you very much indeed for being with us on CGTN. So this report highlights that Gaza's economy has shrunk to less than 1/6 of its pre-war size. Is that in line what you would have expected, given all of the death and destruction there?
Well, it's been the trajectory since the start of the war. As you said, in the last quarter alone, in 3 months, Gaza lost 80% of its economy. By the first quarter of 2024, Gaza even shrunk beyond the 1/6 of its value of 2022, and as we look at the destruction caused by the Israeli airstrikes and the invasion of Gaza, basically, everything from civilian infrastructure to agricultural land to structures, homes, electricity networks, sewage networks, clean water networks has been vastly destroyed or severely damaged. What's left in Gaza now is basically the humanitarian aid workers, health, and some transportation sector working. If we look at the productive sector in Gaza now, for agriculture, industry and construction, there is less than 10% of all of that left in Gaza. And if this continues, nothing is basically left in Gaza without the little humanitarian support currently getting into Gaza.
And how has this financial strain impacted the ability of the Palestinian Authority to govern?
Just to give a little context, given the Paris Protocol, which was signed 30 years ago, 3 decades ago, the Israeli authorities collect taxes on behalf of the Palestinian Authority and then transfer these taxes on a monthly basis, given that Israel controls all the borders and actually clear all the trade coming in to the occupied Palestinian territory. And since October 7, Israel, and before that, Israel have been unilaterally deducting amounts from these taxes, which accounts for 2/3 of the Palestinian revenues, which severely limits the Palestinian Authority's ability to first pay the public servants. The public servants haven't been getting their full salaries since November 2021. And given where the Palestinian economy is in the midst of the biggest crisis that we have seen in decades, the Palestinian Authority is very severely restrained from supporting the Palestinian people, especially with the high unemployment rate, the poverty soaring in the West Bank and also in Gaza, given that in Gaza, the whole population in Gaza is actually under the poverty line now. Mm-hmm. And given that they lost 2/3 of the revenues, and with the aid declining, given there is no political horizon in of the two-state solution, donors have been reducing aid until such a political solution is reached.
Yeah, and Rami, just very briefly, what are the most urgent economic challenges facing the Palestinian territories, and what help is needed as a priority right now?
The whole of the occupied Palestinian territory is an economic crisis. Gaza's economy collapsed months ago, and what we've seen in the West Bank, it's the highest drop since the establishment of the Palestinian Authority, and even before that, since we started recording for the Palestinian economy in 1972. Unemployment have soared both in Gaza and the West Bank. In Gaza, it's now above 80%, and in the West Bank, it tripled over the span of 6 months since the start of the war in Gaza. The biggest challenge is the dependency the Palestinian economy have on Israel in every aspect, in trade, and the severe restriction imposed on trade now poses a lot of restraint on the Palestinian economy. The employment in Israel and the settlements, where 300,000 jobs were lost because of the tightening of restrictions and the inability of Palestinians to work in Israel and the settlements now. So the soaring unemployment led to a severe poverty issue even in the West Bank. So there is a lot of challenges, and as we said earlier, the restraint of the Palestinian government to provide the essential services for the Palestinian people in Gaza and in the West Bank, given the financial or the fiscal restraints due to the withholding of the clearance revenues, poses a lot of restrictions and a lot of challenges for the Palestinian economy.
Indeed. Well, and really great to get your thoughts. I'm afraid we're going to have to leave it there for today, but really good to get your input. Rami Al Azzeh, economist with the UN Trade and Development Organization. Thanks a lot.